So, as you've been hearing, the clock is ticking for Scottish First Minister Humza Yousaf. He faces a no-confidence vote. And the one person who can save his skin is his former rival, Ash Regan.
The former Scottish Nationalist MSP who defected to Alex Salmond's breakaway Alba party is likely to have the deciding vote. The question is, which way will she swing?
We're joined now by the political editor from HuffPost UK, Kevin Schofield, and The Sun's chief political correspondent, Jack Elsom, is here in the studio with us. Kevin, let's start with you. Has Humza Yousaf sealed his own fate here?
Yeah, it was a massive own goal yesterday. I think it was the way in which he ditched the Greens, which has potentially sealed his fate. It was a pretty brutal dumping, but they obviously hadn't thought it through, him and his advisors, and lo and behold, the way that politics works, it's come back to bite him on the backside, because there's going to be this vote of no confidence. The Greens, who are obviously smarting after being ditched yesterday, have said they will vote against him. And irony of ironies, as you were just saying there, it now hinges on Ash Regan. Now, it's worth remembering that when Ash Regan defected to Alba last year, Humza Yousaf at the time said that she wouldn't be missed. Well, now he's having to go on bended knee to beg her to support him, or else he's out of a job.
I mean, it's extraordinary, isn't it, Jack, that yesterday Humza Yousaf thought that actually he had the upper hand, I think. He felt the minority government wouldn't survive, so he essentially jumped before he was pushed. And he was very bullish at the beginning of the day. He said, this is leadership. And then later on, it seems that the penny dropped, that the numbers were against him. And, of course, we've then got Ash Regan, as we were hearing, who he said she is no great loss at the time, deciding his fate.
Yeah, it seems increasingly clear that Humza Yousaf is actually just quite bad at politics. And the first rule in politics is being able to count. And it was quite clear from the off that Humza Yousaf has never had the numbers, obviously now is leading a minority government. And by ditching someone, as Kevin said, in such spectacular and brutal fashion, it was pretty clear that they were going to come out and look for some sort of revenge. And now it comes down to the MSP, Ash Regan, who not only has he been pretty mean about in the past when she jumped ship, but also is obviously in the party led by Alex Salmond, who now loathes the SNP, but once was SNP leader and First Minister. It's like some Shakespearean tragedy. You could not make it up. And it's all going to come down to the wire next week. And if I'm honest, I don't fancy Humza Yousaf's chances.
No, I mean, it's interesting you using the phrase there, he's just bad at politics. We keep hearing that about many of our politicians in Westminster at the moment, don't we? But Kevin, just talk us through the process of what happens next and how crucial the coming days are going to be for Humza Yousaf and the SNP.
Yeah, so the Scottish Parliamentary Bureau, which decides when votes happen in the business of the Parliament, they will decide when this vote takes place. We expect it to happen in the middle of next week. Now, between now and then, should Humza Yousaf actually survive, I mean, there are already discussions and speculation that he may just decide to jump before he is pushed, so he might not even make it to that vote. But if he does, between now and then, obviously, there will be discussions between him and Ash Regan as to how he can possibly woo her and win her vote. Now, one of the reasons why she left the SNP last year was because of the party's stance over trans rights issues. So will we see some sort of climb down from Humza Yousaf over that issue? I'm sure there'll be other policies that Ash Regan would like to see the SNP to implement. And she really does have Humza Yousaf where she wants him. She can basically name her price, really, because ultimately, as I say, she has his fate in her hands. And as Jack was just saying there, Alex Salmond will be absolutely loving this, because there is no love lost anymore between him and the SNP. So he will be really enjoying Humza Yousaf's discomfort.
And Jack, obviously, you couldn't have made this up, because the SNP was such a powerful force in Scotland, unstoppable, many people said. And of course, we're seeing quite the opposite. We're also seeing inroads by Labour into Scotland as well. The vote of no confidence being called by the Conservatives and then backed by many other parties as well. There is also great political churn as well. Rishi Sunak very much on the front foot. The Safety of Rwanda bill going through the front page of the Telegraph this morning, talking about actually asylum seekers moving away from the United Kingdom into Ireland for example. Just in terms of where we go from here, this is incredibly fluid, but Rishi Sunak out jogging as well, we saw as well, didn't we? Obviously,
with hardest geezer.
Yeah, with hardest geezer, so he's obviously trying to show...
The first man to run the whole length of Africa.
Who, Rishi Sunak?
No, hardest geezer.
Yeah, indeed.
And I think, there you go, having a selfie outside Downing Street, so he took a trot through a London park.
Exactly.
With the Prime
So
Minister.
the point I was trying to make was that obviously Rishi Sunak thinks he's got breathing space. The Safety of Rwanda bill now gone through. Does he feel he's on the up?
I think so. I've just spent the last 2 days with him across Europe in Warsaw and Berlin, and it seems that he was definitely in a buoyant mood. He's a lot of things now he can sell to the voters. He has this sort of new 2.5% defence plan. He's got this Safety of Rwanda Act, finally, after huge amounts of wrangling through Parliament. And he's trying to create these really sort of like wedge issues with Labour on Tory patches. You know, he can't really talk about the NHS and public services and even maybe the economy as much as he would like to claim, because people just don't feel like those things are going well at the moment. And I think that the clear schisms he has with Labour...
pushing their own economic credentials
Exactly. Labour said they've scrapped the Rwanda plan. And so if Rishi Sunak can prove he can get some flights off before the election, he can turn to Keir Starmer and say, are you really going to stop this if it's proving to be some sort of deterrent? Now, obviously, that remains to be seen whether it actually does have any tangible impact on boat crossings or not. But he does seem in a buoyant mood. Things are finally going his way. However, we are hurtling towards some local elections next week where all of this sort of bombiviousness and sort of good fortune for him could all come crashing down.
So Rishi Sunak feeling a little more confident right now. Someone who is less confident when it came to geography, at least, Kevin Schofield, was Chris Philp last night on Question Time. I don't know if we got the clip. Shall we have a quick listen to him?
No, I think there's an exclusion on people from Rwanda being sent to Rwanda.
They're not from Rwanda, they're from Congo.
They're from Congo.
And they're supposedly
Okay.
warring these people from Rwanda. Are they then going to be sent to Rwanda if they came here on a crossing?
From
Congo? Yeah.
Would people be sent from... Well, I mean, Rwanda is a different country of Congo, isn't it? It's a different country.
Yes. It is.
Yes.
Definitely. You're saying if they come from a war zone in Congo, would they then be sent to Rwanda?
Wes Streeting's face, already a gif, Kevin. Chris Philp isn't going to be allowed to forget this one anytime soon, is he?
No, it was the mother of all gaffes. There was a chap in the audience put his hands over his eyes. I think he spoke for the entire country at that moment. Yeah, I mean, it was just one of those absolute jaw-dropping comments. And yeah, you're right, Chris Philp. I think it'll be a while before we see Chris Philp out on the airways. He's one of the ministers who is quite regularly pushed out by the government to answer difficult questions, but I think he may well have sealed his fate last night on Question Time. I don't think we'll be seeing him for quite some time.
I mean, the one thing a minister should know is the flagship policy of the government, particularly if everything hinges off that. The Conservative Party has made no bones about immigration is the cornerstone, really, of the campaign going into the general election. What did you make of that?
I mean, it's just like a classic of the genre, isn't it? Minister looks an absolute muppet, and he did look a muppet. And you know, when you're speaking about a policy,
sympathy for him, because you can see the panic setting in and the backpedaling as he realises. Oh God,
looking down at his notes.
Well, I was going to say desperately reading the briefing
anything would
notes
save him.
Where's
from
Google
this.
Maps when you need it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
in terms of the Labour Party, the Labour Party is sending out press releases by the day and very much trying to be on the front foot. They're also talking about nationalising or renationalising the railways. Very scant on detail, though.
Yeah, they are, and it clearly seems like this is an ideological issue for Labour. It's quite pretty a smart political play because they're punching a bruise which many people will resonate with. You know, the trains are run awfully, and they do seem to be incredibly expensive. And nationalising does seem to be a popular policy in the polls. I guess the question for Labour is that a popular policy because people want nationalisation, or is that a popular policy because people just don't think it can get any worse? And if they do get into government, their task is going to be to prove that, one, they can do this and also do it, have the trains run efficiently, but also make sure the taxpayer isn't on the hook for billions more pounds than they already are.
And Jack, the economy in focus today from Labour. Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves are going to visit a family in the North East hit by the cost of living crisis. They want to, talk about their economic credentials and how people will be better off under Labour than they are under the Tories. How are they going to do it? Do we have policy?
I actually don't really think there's much difference in economic policy between Labour and the Tories at the moment. You know, the Labour have already said they're going to match tax and spend plans, which the Tories have put forward in the last budget, apart from VAT on private schools. And obviously the Tories now nixed their nom-dom. So there's the two flagship policies, really, which are sort of the only main schisms between the two of them. You know, Rishi Sunak is desperate to say that inflation is falling. Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves are desperate to say that people don't feel that. And so, like, I think Labour are probably going to make more of a play about the economy, just because people feel, really, in the country.
And Kevin, can I just ask you, how is the Labour message playing in Scotland?
Well, yeah, if you look at the polls, I mean, it looks as though Labour are on the march in Scotland. I spoke to one SNP figure through the week there who thought that they may well be down to single figures in MPs because the message they're getting on the doorstep is so bad. The Conservatives may actually buck the trend in Scotland as well. They may actually win more seats than expected. So, yeah, Labour definitely on the up. They're looking for maybe up to 25 seats. I think would be a really good night at a general election for them. At the moment, they've only got 2 MPs. So I think it's safe to say, though, that the constitutional issue is still on a knife edge in Scotland. Polls show people support independence. It's pretty much 50-50. So that issue hasn't gone away either.
Thank you. Kevin Schofield from HuffPost, Jack Elsom from The Sun.